Welcome back to the Splitting Hairs podcast presented by Jack Garbutt Illustrated. Matt in Dallas with you tonight.
And Matt's mustache.
For one, it's going away tomorrow. So
No.
yeah. No Chad tonight. Chad is out in Vegas. He talked about that on Monday in our last show, and he's winning big. And so, when Chad wins all this huge money out there in Vegas, he's going to create that kids zone, that family zone at the stadium.
Oh, that's his first.
That's his first. I think that's his first thing. I'm pretty sure that's what he said. So, yeah. If you haven't seen that yet, University of Tulsa has a zone that's attached to their stadium that is kid-friendly, big screen TVs, so parents can still see the game. It is the coolest thing. So,
I'm taking full credit once that happens. I started lobbying for that. No, you could do that. You could do like a full stadium to the east. There, you could do like a mock scoreboard to mimic what it looks like. You can watch the game on that. You could do stands. You could do I'm imagining like little mini suites for the kids to play in. This is gonna be great. I can't wait. I really hope he wins that.
Yeah, I know. So let's make it happen, Chad. If you're listening to this, so all right. So as always, we are presented by Drake's Place of Bottle, South Dakota, and Cottonwood Coffee of Brookings and worldwide. But Drake's, when you're traveling out west, if you're going hunting, going to the river, just traveling that way to see family, whatever it might be, stop at Drake's and get filled up on fuel and food and drink. And Brendan and Chad and have both been up there recently and raved about the food and the variety that you can get, and said that there's no way that a convenience store should have this good of food. So that's pretty cool. So if you find yourself up that way, be sure to swing by Drake's and pick up something. Cottonwood, I talk about them all the time, how much I love their breakfast. You guys know that. A bunch of you have stopped at Cottonwood and tagged us when you're there. We love that. Keep doing that for us. And, in my opinion, it's the best omelet in town. And their coffee is pretty darn good too. And once you have their coffee, it's hard to go back to the regular stuff. So
their coffee is good.
Yeah. So get your coffee. If you're not in Brookings, stop at a Walmart in Minnesota if you're there. And if you're not in Minnesota, get it mailed to you. And when you order it online, use code JI22 to receive 10% off your order.
Ooh, JI22 gets you what?
10% off your order.
Awesome.
So I know, pretty great. So this is good. I like this. Jesse.
What?
All right. Chad is an iron horse. How many episodes does he actually miss? This is his first, I think, this year. And he's pulled weeks where he's done 3.
Yeah.
Plus wrestling sometimes. So this is a well-deserved break for Chad. So we're giving him crap, but no, he deserves it. So he's worked hard this year. So, all right. Well, that was pretty fun yesterday. I don't know if I really necessarily saw that coming, that big of a beatdown. Did you, Dallas?
No, same. I didn't either. I was thinking 2 to 3 scores of 14, maybe 17 points at the most, something like that. That made sense.
Yep.
But, when you look at the way the game, there's that game within the game that unfolded kind of funny. And obviously, quarterback getting hurt, that plays into it because, that kid was a baller. It was too bad to see him go down early. But my goodness, what a great start to the playoffs.
Yeah, 42-6. And really, outside of the fumble on the initial punt return, on the first punt return, a pretty darn perfect game. When I was writing rants and raves this morning, I was really struggling to come up with.
You did struggle to come up with a rant.
With rants, yes, they were reaches, and they were half-hearted. At best. Who was it? Mike Schaefer came up with a bunch, and they were NCAA related, game day related stuff, not even for the team. So, pretty dang good. Happy with the game.
No, agreed. And when I saw the link come up this morning, I'm like, man, what's the rant going to be?
Yeah.
And how good that was.
Yeah.
And that, I'm in the same spot. We all had the same conversation with that punt issue at the beginning. And again, he's a fantastic punt returner, done explosive stuff. I forget what I said to you guys, but that is a I think I've said it on the pod before, but that's a total. That is like my old man get off my lawn rant. Of if a punt is bouncing around, get away from it. Oh my God, I can't. And again, I'm a lineman, and I've talked about this before, so maybe that's just my deal. But man, get away from that thing.
Right.
So that drove me crazy, but I forget it is you or Kyle or somebody made a point of like, hey, if nothing else, that won't happen again.
I think that was Ben, right?
Yeah, and then it was Ben. That's right. And then even post game, Stig said the same thing. He's like, yeah, that didn't happen again, and it won't happen again, right?
Yeah,
so
right.
That's fine.
Yeah. Yeah, Jim Pop and Peter. Yes. Yep. I think that's one of the first things I learned in football from Mr. Ben Teen. So, yeah, Jim Poppin again said, Rust didn't see much.
No.
And we're not talking about Scott Rust either. So I'm sure he's here somewhere. But that was just darn impressive to come out and play that sharp, to score on the first 3 possessions, for the defense to force a 3-and-out right away. I mean, and then after that, only give up 3 points on a short field, 6 points in the first half, and a complete shutout in the second. My goodness, even against the backup quarterback. You know, I know Nolan Henderson was their dude, but I mean, if that first drive was any indication, he was going to be harassed and hit all day long. That's for sure. And I think he was a little bit nervous about that beatdown he got last time he came, because you saw he was really struggling to not bail out of the pocket pretty quickly on that opening drive. So, yeah, we'll see on that, I guess. You guys and your cowbells need more cowbells. Garrett Meyer got his for $6 at Runnings.
More cowbells. So the story behind that is the no cowbells thing is Missouri Valley. It has nothing to do with Division I, nothing to do with NCAA. It is flat out Missouri Valley hates fun, I guess.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, and that's why we have that. And you know, going back for anybody that hasn't been around more than 11, 12 years, that was a huge part of what, the way that people cheered and the way that people participated in games.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And I think for years our fans have been frustrated because you turn on Montana State, you hear it at Weber, you hear it at Southeast Louisiana. You know, those fans all have cowbells. So it's been like, well, why the heck don't we have cowbells? And last week, B Team, along with Garrett, kind of organized that, hey, we should get some cowbells going again. And so that was good to see. Good to hear some follow through, actually. And speaking of stuff that came up and saw at the crowd and on the broadcast, whoever hung the Jackrabbit Illustrated flag in the student section, that was really cool. So thanks whoever did that. I received a ton of pictures of that, and it was just kind of cool to see. So thanks whoever that was. That was cool.
Yeah. And to have it coming out of the student section too. Not that I don't think that they listen, but I think our core demo is not the student section necessarily. So the fact that somebody there had it, flew it right there, players looking at it, dude, that was super cool.
Yeah, that was neat. So a couple things on the game. We know this Jackrabbit defense has been insane this year. Truly amazing. And I think in what to watch, we shot for keeping the rushing yardage below what they did in the spring. So 72 yards, I believe, is the number. The Jacks held them to 64 yards, a 1.7 average on that. Dallas, you played defensive line. How hard is it to limit a team to less than 2 yards per carry?
Oh, that's unbelievable. I mean, you look at this, the speed and strength of running backs, and to not fall forward for 2 yards is crazy.
Yeah.
You've got people, one that's an assumption that you've got defensive linemen, the colonel, any of those guys eating up a couple blocks at a time, and then people just flying around in the backfield. And it isn't just a physical thing. That's actually more mental than physical. In my opinion, holding someone to that few yards, you don't just do that at the line of scrimmage. That is knowing and anticipating, and your safeties know when the ball is handed off, when they see whatever steps those backs are taking, they know exactly where to feel, exactly where to go. Absolutely amazing. No, you don't hold a Division I program to that few yards. That's unbelievable.
Yeah. Especially with those backs both coming in averaging over 6.6 yards per carry.
Yeah, they were no
right?
slouch. That was not a bad running team. That was really good.
Yeah.
And that gets me more excited. I don't want to get cocky by any means, but you look forward if we're fortunate enough to get through this next round here, and you look at the teams coming up. I mean, by all standards, it looks like the Fargo Humps and the in Montana State are the other best two teams, and all they can do is run the ball. So that bodes real well for the Jackrabbits.
Yep, indeed. So yeah, that was something I was excited about, and the broadcasters commented on that too. You mentioned the safeties coming flying up, and I think it was Kobe Herter had a negative run tackle, and he commented like he's 14 yards deep and he's making the play 2 yards in the backfield, just because of how the defense kept stringing it out and giving him time to get there. And God,
it's effort, but it's, I mean, I don't think we can give, and some of it you got to give to Jimmy. Just for the games he's putting together and the position he's putting them in. I mean, yes, we have fantastic athletes, but we're talking about Division I football. They're all good athletes.
Yeah, right.
Our coaching staff is putting those kids in great position to make plays.
A couple things, that deserve praise and to be called out here. 3 penalties on the day. And that's been an issue all year, is penalties, having stupid penalties, having bonehead penalties, unforced, not non-effort penalties, and to only have 3 total penalties, just outstanding. And that's something that I thought maybe would pop up with some rust, is some offsides, is some false starts. And we did have a false start to start the game. John O'Brien got his out of the game, or got it out of the way early.
Sometimes you just got to get that out of your system. It happens.
Yeah. This is funny because me and Chad and some other folks joked about it at the UNI game, that maybe we should just have John O'Brien jump off sides on the first play. just so he can just get it done with, get it over. And this week he did it, actually. So
it's the classic, maybe just put him on punt team. The classic stage where you have the left guard jump off side every time.
Yeah.
False start.
Yeah. This is a good. Hey, I did want to ask you this. So thank you, Jesse, for bringing this up. This was one of the rants that I did come up with. Was Delaware doing something to take our tight ends out of the game?
Not that I could tell.
Yeah.
I don't, and actually Kyle would be the best one to answer this. I honestly was going to text him earlier and ask him, because not that I saw with what they were running, but you almost have to assume so with the talent that we have there.
Yeah.
But just in terms of, again, alignment and what they were keying on, now they might have brought a safety down over the tight end more often than not. I can't say that I have any stats on when we ran, 11 or 12 personnel, whether we had, Tucker and Hines on the field at the same time, things like that. Because that would be a way to get one of them involved if you just got them both in the game. But no, I don't know.
Yeah, makes me wonder, just that natural 3-3-5 alignment. You have that extra rover position out there. If maybe they were doing some shadowing or some shading or something like that with that rover that moves. Because if you look at some of the success in the pass plays, a lot of it was those deep outs outside the hashes. I mean, that's something I really noticed. And so I wonder if just they were really trying to gum up everything in the middle, where the tight ends maybe do some more of that work.
It could be, but here's something to think about, Matt, is it's not like we don't have one-dimensional tight ends. You look at Tucker, and you can drag him across the middle. You can run short little like pop routes. You can send him up the seam, and he can outrun a safety. You can hand the damn ball off to him. You can pitch it like there's 100 things you can do with that dude. And I wonder if there's just other things that Lujan saw that he just wanted to exploit instead. Was my take.
Yeah. And Jace, this is a great point. The tight ends, of course, I mean, they're phenomenal blockers.
Yeah.
We know that. Seth Meyer says Tucker was open on a few plays, but so were other people, and that's where the ball went. And Corey Caraway, it was there. Why force it?
Yeah, good point. When you have that many weapons. You don't need to push it anywhere. Just take what's there.
Yeah. Yep. Only threw 17 total passes. Garrett says things were open to others. Exactly. So, and that's exactly, what I tried to say in rants and raves as well. Just, it was more of an observation, it's just an odd thing to get 2 receptions to our 3 tight ends for 11 yards.
No, fair. I think everybody thought that.
Yeah. Yep. So, some other good stuff from the game. I thought, Savion Williamson, individually on defense. Gosh, I'm just so happy for that kid. We've talked about it. Stig's talked about it. But gosh, what a good story, right?
Yep. No, I'm on the same page. And I fast forward to the game balls. It's hard not to give it to him because I've tried to give it to him before games so many times.
Yep.
And again, he's right down the road. He's from Waseca. I'm in Mankato. Knew about him coming out of high school. Great athlete. One of those kids that you've got up and down this roster that he could have left and he could have owned, been the top tackler at so many FCS schools.
Yep.
He absolutely could have. And he stayed, had some injury issues. And it's so fun to see someone put in the work and get their time now.
Mm-hmm. Same with Peyton Schaefer, too. Yep. Like, it stinks that he's not using that extra year of eligibility, but I totally get it because his body's falling apart. And, you heard him talk about it on the Stig show, Difference Makers, and just how, the mental toll too of the rehab and all of that. Like it's a lot for these young men. And, I don't blame him at all for stepping away, but grateful that he finished out this year because we needed him and he's been great. So, yeah.
100%. I can speak to that. I actually didn't finish my last year either because I had a kid and was married and was just ready to be done. And to add another year of actual playing onto all these guys, I get it. It's not that simple. Mm-hmm. It's not like, oh, you could play another year and you're going to be better. Well, no, you're a human being. You've already done, 5-6 years of school. No, you got to move on with your life sometime. So it completely makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Hey, this is a great point by Corey Caraway here. Can't wait to see Bach, Stallbird, and Freeman on the field together. I don't think it's happened this year. And I think you're right.
Because Freeman wasn't getting on the field.
Yep. And Stallbird got hurt too.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So then Bach got hurt. So I'm not sure if they have, maybe if it was just a slight.
It's insane.
But you look at this group, Dayton McGoy, right? Spalding, Williamson, and then who got hurt? Caleb Francel started against Iowa, had the interception, had a sack, right, against Iowa, and he hasn't played since he played a half of football. So, this linebacker group is insane. Any of these guys, like Dallas talked about, could go anywhere and be the leading tackler for that team. So, Dallas, did we lose you again? Your sound?
No, I'm playing around with my mic right now.
Okay.
When we joined here, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can. Right. Let us know in the comments if you can't.
Yeah, if I'm having audio issues, please let me know. Because I jumped in. I've never had a problem with this mic, and then I had to restart twice before we started here.
So, yeah. So, I don't know. What else yesterday? What else do we want to praise?
There's a lot. Good team win to win by that many points. Enjoy the coaching, the play calling was all solid. I don't know that I got a whole lot of feedback on that, really. Yeah.
The one play, Deshaun Gales, right, had a phenomenal pass breakup in the end zone. And when was it? Still the first half. And Delaware was driving, put together a decent drive. And it's the one where they missed the field goal, I believe, eventually. But it could have been an easy touchdown. But Deshaun really caught up on the play and broke it up. And he's just so good. He had one tackle on the day and a pass breakup. And that's a corner that doesn't leave the field. Dallas and Malik rotate quite a bit, but Deshaun's out there most of the time. And he's just been good. He's just that one player again. Like I've apologized for this, and I just can't get over it. I need to stop apologizing for it. But it's one of the reasons to never like limit like what you think a player can become. Right at the start of the year, I said Deshaun and Malik are just who they are at this point. They've been in the system long enough; they're not going to make a jump, and both of them just made tremendous jumps this year.
Stepped up, did extremely well, and especially out quarterbacks out on an island there. It's almost. If someone's playing really well, it's easy to overlook because you're probably not going to show up on the stat sheet a ton, make a bunch of flashy plays. I mean, you'll have some pass breakups and stuff, and that's super cool. But it's easy for a lockdown corner to fly under the radar a little bit and be underappreciated in a defense. Yeah. And man, what a couple great players.
Yeah, indeed. Josh Hoffman. All right, 605 Hogs were awesome.
Yes, sir.
100%. That right side is really coming along, so especially in the run game.
Do you remember when that was a question mark?
Yeah.
That was like my biggest worry.
And
God dang it. I mean, Brian and they're playing so well.
Yep. And I think, this is just Kyle's article from a week and a half ago on the transfer portal. John O'Brien's been a huge pickup at right tackle. We joke about the penalties and stuff, the false starts, but man, he is really coming to his own and playing very confidently right now.
Very good football player, great. I think I don't even know. Watching them both run and pass blocking, I don't know that he necessarily favors one over the other. I mean, he's just an all around solid tackle.
Yeah. Yep. Isaiah Davis averaged 7.4 yards per carry, and Mark averaged 9.1, and Amar was at 4.4. So those three gobbled up the yards, and it's fun to see. When you have two All-Americans on the left side, you'd think in a lot of those situations, like, oh, they're going to run behind those two. But they're running behind Burnson and O'Brien a fair amount when they need a yard or two. So
yeah, we don't favor one side or the other. We really don't.
Yep.
Did you and Chad? I'm going to be honest. I missed last week's show. I was traveling and busy. Did you guys talk about Greenfield McCormick announcing the comeback?
Yep. We did talk about that. So that was good.
What a huge thing for the program.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to belabor it any more than we have to, but I think it was Ben talked about the impact that has just on the program and the offensive line room in general.
Mm-hmm.
And I texted that to Mason just so he knew the level of appreciation that people have for them making that decision. Now I know that there's clearly somebody for both those guys. They want to play on Sundays.
Mm-hmm.
And there's somebody saying, hey, here's work on this, work on that. Here's some stuff you need to show a little more on tape. I mean, of course that plays into it, but the fact that you have two leaders like that making that decision, as much as I dislike the team to the north, the reason they're as good as they are is because of their offensive line they've had over the last decade, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And then you get these two just phenomenal football players that play on the left side of our line coming back for another year, and then they can be leaders and teach other folks and bring them along with them. Like it. I don't know. It's awesome. So I'm sure you talked about it last week. I want to bring it up again. That's a huge thing for this program.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, and it gives Coach Olson, as we've talked about in our group text and stuff, it gives Coach Olson some time to continue to build the depth the way he wants it built. Because let's be honest, they had to go out and get O'Brien because the cupboard was a little bare at tackle. So it's worked out, and this gives just a little bit more chance to get guys ready. So love it. Let's talk about the crowd a little bit. I don't want to belabor this too much, but 66,000 fans, third largest playoff crowd, and watching online, watching on ESPN Plus, that was an extremely loud crowd. It was awesome. The crowd was into it. It was great. You guys had an impact on the game with the false starts, and you could really tell they were struggling to communicate at the line of scrimmage. And so, I mean, for 6,000 people, like that was an awesome atmosphere. It's just the optics of having an empty stadium on the east side are pretty tough to see on TV, but at least we got to hear everyone loud and clear.
No, it is. And I saw that on Twitter, people starting to get a little bit critical of that. And I'm not sure how to feel because so again, full disclosure, neither one of us were there.
Yep. Oh yeah.
You were at a wedding. I had both my kids at games, so I had to watch from a hockey rink and then listen. Listen on the drive back. So I'm not sure how to feel about it. And listening pregame, the interview with Sel, he said the same sort of stuff. He's like, "Hey, listen, I don't think it's the weather. I think it's just people have stuff going on." And that makes perfect sense because that was why I personally was not there. And the same reason I'm not going to be there this next weekend for a kids tournament. But again, you look at a Montana State and they've got 16, 17,000 people. Their kids have things too. So I don't know how to feel about it right now.
See, that's what I struggle with too, because Holy Cross had more folks at their game and it was pouring rain the whole game.
That's not okay.
Sac State had more folks at their game and it was pouring rain the whole game. So like that, and I know those are large, huge metro areas that have a ton of people to draw from. It's youth basketball season's in full swing, youth hockey season, prep season starting to get underway. And so it is an extremely tough time of year. I get that, but it really does bother me though, the folks that just want to sit at Cubbies and not, and be warm and not have to go to that game and deal with the cold. Like, come on, that does bother me. Yeah, it just does. But I get it. If you have legitimate stuff going on and your kids are happening, like that's that you have to have your priorities in place at that point. So it's just tough. I don't know what to do about it because it's fun. It's really fun. The playoff games are a blast. This is the first one I've missed in a long, long, long time, maybe ever. And it stunk. I was watching it all the way up until the bride started walking up the church or the aisle, and then my wife bumped me and I turned it off. But it was a Lutheran wedding, so it was pretty quick, 20 minutes and done. So
nice, good work.
Yeah. So, and part of that was halftime. Yeah. All right. Ice fishing. Yep, ice fishing's happening now. So, thanks, Darren. Good reminder. All right, should we do game balls?
Let's do game balls.
All right. Well, everyone knows mine. What do you got, Dallas, for offense?
So offense, it's probably the same. I mean, you rush for that many yards and just look that dominant. I think you gotta go that way, right? Like did you have anybody else that you thought about on offense? Because I mean,
it was either Mark. It might have been Mark or Isaiah.
Mark had another solid game.
Yep.
Nothing flashy, but I love he does what is needed to be done. And at some point, if there's a game where he needs to throw for 375 and 4 scores, he probably will do that, but he just doesn't have to, right?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's tough not to give it to Isaiah. Flash wise, the double toe tap in the back of the end zone was pretty cool. That was that was really fun to watch. But yeah, you got to go to Davis there on offense. Yeah,
and I should mention that the game ball segment's presented by Dakota Iron down in Sioux Falls. Chad always has their motto, "We dig deeper," and I think that's cool because that's what they specialize in, is making sure that you get the right equipment for your need, whatever your project is. Whether it's something for your feedlot, something to move snow with, something for your construction site, whatever it may be, John and his team there at Dakota Iron, they'll get you set up. So thanks for your support, Dakota Iron.
Thank you, Dakota Iron.
Yeah. And then, I went with Isaiah just because of that average. I mean, there's the whole playoff Zay thing that was going around on Twitter a little bit yesterday. So that was exciting to see him.
They talked about that in the post-game interview and on the broadcast too, of just the stats he's put up in the postseason, 1,000 yards in the playoffs, or I forget. I'm going to get the numbers wrong, but I mean, clearly
it's insane.
Balls at the right time.
Yeah. Yep. Speaking of the broadcast, Adam Brenneman, who was doing the color, the color portion of it, he was really complimentary and had kind of a Twitter thread today about things that he came away with. And just like Garrett Greenfield going to have a long career in the NFL. Was something he pointed out. He was impressed with the Yankees. They were better than he thought. Offense is a different dimension with Mark Gronowski running the ball. So that was cool, kind of cool to see. He actually follows me now on Twitter. So yeah.
Big time. Look at you.
Hey, Nate Walters followed me today too.
What?
Out of nowhere. I know.
Oh my God.
Wild. All right. Defensively.
Hold on. No, I want to talk. No, we're talking about Who do you think is going to take the Saturday game? Who's going to call us on Saturday?
I don't know. I have no idea.
If you had any idea, okay.
Yeah, it'd be cool if it was my buddy Matt Berry again. Right?
Dude, Matt Berry is on my shit list.
Uh-oh.
Did you watch college football final this morning?
No.
Man,
I was driving back from the city.
Oh, gotcha. I'm sorry, I forget when you came back. No, so I get it. It's conference final week, right? So it's all FBS, and we should just be happy that FCS gets 2 minutes of conversation. But in about 30 seconds, Matt Berry managed to talk about Mark Gronkowski, our quarterback, one of the Janky twins, repeatedly called us South Dakota with a fake Fargo accent. And he did all that like in a minute. And I am completely over your good friend Matt Berry at this point because it was atrocious.
Matt Berry?
It was bad. I'm done with him. So you need to get him back on an interview if he does one of our games again, and then I'm going to jump in and just ambush him because it was garbage.
I'm going to send him a DM and just be like, yo, hey, we're South Dakota State, not South Dakota.
It was garbage. It was not good.
Yeah. And only Brendan sounds like a Youper, so... All right.
I'm with you there.
Yeah. All right. Shoot. Matt Berry. I'm disappointed now. All right. Let's talk about defensive game balls. So I went with the entire defense. Chad calls that a cop-out, but I knew he wasn't going to be here this week to give me any crap. So
okay, hold on. Yep. You know what's funny is I thought about who I was going to pick, and I was going to pick two people. I'm like, man, that's a cop-out. And then you picked the whole defense, so I don't feel so bad.
Yeah. Hey, Stig can do it. The team can do. They do. They do entire defensive game balls. They're their players of the week.
No, I mean, my God, to only give up 190 whatever yards, it's pretty tough not to. Yeah. I'm not going whole defense, but I am gonna split it. It's one, like I said earlier, Savion I've been rooting for him the whole season, and he was leading tackler, I think. Did he have 11? Something like that?
Yeah, Savion had 11 tackles, yes.
Yeah, he had a great game. So him, but it's tough not to go with my boy, the best athlete ever out of Marshall, Minnesota, Reese Winkleman.
Yes.
With two and a half sacks and 1.5 TFLs, whatever it was. Anyway, great stat line. And again, as a defensive lineman, you typically influence the game and don't hit the stat sheet. He did that over and over and over. Looked great. So I'm going to go with Savion and Reese.
Hey, perfect. Yeah, you can't go wrong with those. No. So, cool. Yep, and this is exactly right. Chad Purim, he's a little bit delayed, he says, but the D-line did an excellent job of not over-pursuing and allowing first downs from quarterback runs.
Yep.
Totally. All right. Hey, hi, Jabari. There we go.
Hey, Jabari.
Allison, thanks, Dallas.
Hi, Allison.
Yep. All right. Perfect. All right, let's move on to whatever's next. Holy Cross preview. The Holy Cross preview here. So I don't know. I watched the Holy Cross New Hampshire game today. I've watched a little bit of Holy Cross when they played Fordham this year. That was a super exciting game. And just other times because they're on so early. Like usually if the Jacks have a road game, I'll just put on ESPN Plus, and usually they're on at 11 a.m. out there. Or for us, noon their time. And I've just been curious, like, how can a Patriot League team actually be, ranked in the top 10 all season like they were? Like, are they legit?
Same. It completely caught me off guard, but, you watch over and over again, and they just kind of crept up the rankings.
Yep.
And they've stayed consistent. And then you look at a couple of those solid wins, and, this is a real good ball club.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So yesterday they defeated New Hampshire 35-19, and it was an ugly, ugly game. Like I mentioned, it was raining the whole time. There was a stiff wind the whole time, and New Hampshire did not handle the adversity well. They had a bunch of turnovers. They had a blocked punt. They did block one of Holy Cross's punts themselves. And if you remember from the spring season, Holy Cross got chippy in that spring season game. And they definitely got chippy with New Hampshire. instigated a bunch of stuff. New Hampshire lost their cool. They had a player actually kicked out of the game for 2 separate personal foul penalties. There was a lot of extracurricular BS after the plays, and a lot of it was started by Holy Cross, but New Hampshire got caught. So that is something to watch out for, is that these cake eaters are going to be trying to get the Jacks baited into fighting and extra stuff afterwards. So, like, you just have to watch it. Like, I just remember that from the spring season. Sluka, their really good quarterback, being a bit of a baby throughout,
I remember him
shoving and things after that. Yeah, so
phenomenal football player.
Yes.
So no question there. But there was a little bit of an attitude issue.
Yeah, so watching him and Oliver, the TV broadcast said this, that 66% of the plays or offensive plays are runs, and it's Sluka and Oliver over and over and over again. He has improved as a passer. On their opening drive, and on their opening touchdown drive, New Hampshire was receiving the punt, and the guy let it hit on the ground, and one of his blockers ran by it, and the referees thought that it hit the blocker. On review, there was no clear angle to see if it did or didn't. The announcers sure thought it was the announcers thought it was not a fumble, or it never hit the UNH player, but the refs didn't see enough to overturn it. So they get the ball at like the 20-yard line, something like that. First play out, when they get the ball back, Sluka airmails it, goes right through the breadbasket of New Hampshire safety. A couple plays later, they score. So that's just how the game went for New Hampshire. Everything that could go wrong did. And again, they didn't handle the adversity well at all.
No,
at all.
Some of that's on them, but you've got to give Holy Cross some credit, right? Like,
they're good. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that was not a fluke win.
No.
I didn't think it'd be quite that, and I'd be curious if the weather would have been a little bit better, how that would have turned out. Mm-hmm. But again, like, that's just part of it, and both teams played in it, and they, Holy Cross took them to the woodshed.
Yep. So that Oliver, the running back, they use him like a battering ram, and it really and
Sure.
I kind of thought that, I was like, oh geez, he's like this 4.5 yards cloud of dust kind of guy, but he did break off some longer touchdown runs as the day went along and stuff too.
He's averaging 6 yards a carry in the year.
Yeah,
we got two guys, your quarterback and then Oliver, both rushed for 1,000 yards or so. Yep. That's tough to defend.
Yep. And then, offensive line wise, I was like, well, geez, it's a Patriot League. Like, they're going to be smaller.
How big are they?
Yeah. So here they are. So 6'4", 294, 6'3", 311, 6'6", 305, 6'5", 301, 6'4", 296.
Ooh.
Like, that's not a small line. Like,
no.
That's normal. That's good size. So that's a valley size.
Line.
So, like, looking at that, like, they've invested obviously in player development. They look the part out there.
Are they wasty, or what kind of big are they?
No, they're not. No, they look like they look like our offensive line, So that's something to keep an eye on too, is that it's maybe not the same, size-wise team that we saw in the spring. Something to watch.
Well, everybody else saw the same crap that we did. Is you get the stupid team to the north that, again, I'll go back to their offensive line. What you have to do to compete, and you have to be able to compete in the trenches. So, it's not unreasonable to think that other teams across the country saw that and went, okay, we need to invest in our O-line, we need to get bigger. And, they've done that. They've obviously run the ball. They've done all kinds of things well, but they've run the ball well. So, kudos to Holy Cross.
Yep. And we got to bring up Coker, the wide receiver. He's their leading receiver on the year, 45 receptions, 849 yards, and 11 touchdowns, 18.87 average. And they have this Ayer Asante as well that's averaging 22 yards per reception, so some big play threats. And again, Sluka's improved as a passer. when he came in the spring, he was still pretty raw in that area, in my opinion. But again, he'll still put some balls up for play. Only has, I think, 3 or 4 interceptions on the year. But he's he's still developing in that area. He's a bigger threat to run, but he can pass and has weapons to do it, obviously.
And that'll be an interesting thing to watch here, because, and I'm not trying to be arrogant, but I assume we're going to more or less shut down the run.
Yep.
Because we have the best run defense in the country. That is nothing. There's no slight against Holy Cross. We have the best run defense in the country. They're not going to run for 300 yards against us. They're just not. Right.
Yep.
So their staff is working on oh my goodness, how do we respond to this? And you got to be able to use a couple of those weapons. And watching some of the highlights, and I've watched any full games, but you look at both Coker and Asante. Good hands. They seem to adjust to the ball well. Again, when you've got a quarterback that maybe isn't quite as accurate, you have to be able to come back on routes. You need to be able to adjust. And I don't know. I saw enough highlights of both of them that they can do that if they have to.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm reading Ben's comment here.
Oh, no, sorry.
Sorry. Matt, loving the stash. Give us a hi diddly ho, neighbor, just one time.
I didn't go with Flanders at all. I actually was going to say you looked like who's the dad on Monsters University?
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep. Jeepers.
That's more like you look like. It's a great mustache.
Thank you.
Own it, man. Good job.
So my keys, I'm glad you brought up, forcing him to pass, right? Because that's what we want to do. And so force 3rd and long, right? Got to shut down the run on those early downs.
Yeah.
Tackling with Sluka and Oliver being so physical, like we're going to have to rally tackle, have to really wrap up. They're not going to go down with just a big shoulder shot.
Agreed.
They're not.
Do you think we see Bach this week? I don't.
I don't know. He did the warm-ups, and that's kind of been the thing. Guys have gone through the warm-ups before they,
So post-game, Stig, did you listen to post-game?
I did, yep.
Okay, so Stig said it wasn't a trick. He was 100% mental for Bach.
Yep.
He hadn't done it. They wanted him to go through it. And then to me, it sounded like he probably, I don't know, it didn't sound super confident that he was going this next week either, but.
Interesting.
Just my guess.
Okay. Well, we'll see on it, I guess. That's, kind of just depends on like how he feels, right? Because that's something Stig said, is that he can't be out there in pain and he has to be able to make all the cuts that he wants to be able to make and stuff. So, yeah, that's something to watch. But I like that. I mean, Williamson's a big linebacker too. So Scott Rust, there you are, man.
Hey, Scott.
No rust here. Williamson will have another big game. Definitely. Yep. I think with his athleticism and size, he's a great fit for this game. So, all right. Then the other thing, like I mentioned, got to keep cool. The Holy Cross is chippy. They play to the echo of the whistle. So watch that. So don't get baited into stupid personal foul penalties. And, don't let these cake eaters and the whininess that they have get to you too much. So, yeah. Defensively, I love, their defense. They play everything. They play a 4-3, a 3-4, a 2-5, just ridiculous formations out there. And they come with pressure from everywhere. What was that last part? Sorry.
I said, please, I hope they run a 2-5 against us.
Yeah, right? So they did that against New Hampshire on some 3rd and longs. And again, it just looked like chaos out there with where they were blitzing guys from all over the place. Their stud, in my opinion, is this Liam Anderson, number 5, kind of an edge player. And I really liked him. He just plays, he's a high motor player, smart. On the year, he leads the team with 76 tackles, 3 sacks, an interception, 4 quarterback hurries, a forced fumble. 14 and a half tackles for loss. Like, the guy's everywhere. And then their defensive end, Jake Rickwan, number 55, has 6.5 sacks on the season, 48 total tackles, 8 quarterback hurries or hits, whatever it is. And he looks the part out there. That 55 does for sure. He's a big player, looks strong. And so that's going to be an interesting matchup with those two on the edge. and how we match up with them. So, yeah, good challenge for the 605 Hogs.
No, it should be. And it's they get a good chunk of their production out of one guy, and I'm going to try to watch over the course of the week here and see, do they, is it the fact that he's just the best player, or have, I don't know, just looking at how other offensive lines have blocked them, right? Because if you only have one guy that's a threat, we can absolutely shut him down.
Yeah.
But if it's at the expense of allowing somebody else to run free, you can't do that. So I didn't get a good enough feel. And I also wonder, did you happen to see, did they move him around, or does he stay on the outside?
That Anderson?
Yeah.
Number 5?
No. The
The 55. I think he moves around too. Like he'll
I'm going to watch for that, because that makes it a little bit tougher too, because you can't just scheme for one, run away from one position.
Yep. And my sample size on like actually writing down notes on defense stuff is 1 in against New Hampshire. So
no, and I'm not trying to call you out on that, because I haven't done it either. I'm just stating that that's what I'm going to look for here this week, because that's the sort of stuff that makes me nervous. Is like, all right, does he just happen to be the one that's broken free, or is he just the only productive member of that D line? Because that's a whole different ballgame.
Sure. Yep, that makes a lot of sense. One thing I noticed that New Hampshire did have success with was like intermediate passes, as well as some success in the screen game. And so that's something that, our tunnel screens and things like that, because this defense is very, very aggressive. Like I said, they blitz the shit out of New Hampshire. And earlier in the season when I've seen them, same type of stuff. They've blitzed from all over the place. So, yeah, that's just something I'd keep an eye on. How can we use that aggressiveness against them?
In my unbelievably, I don't know, just unintelligent offensive mind, I would go. I mean, you have to, if you're that aggressive, you got to go at it. Yeah. And so to me, with the way that we, the way that we handle the ball, I'd probably RPO directly at it, because I mean, either you run or pass directly at the blitz and try to get around it. So either at that point you're going to try to exploit what they're doing, and again, either you can see where they're blitzing from, come at it, try to just pop a little pass over the top, get 7, 8, 9 yards out of it. Or if they're blitzing one side and you happen to have that RPO away, then you can go ahead, run the ball, find where they're missing that second level guy and just go at him.
Yep. Hey, Ryan Cords brings up a great point, and I did want to touch on this. So thank you, Ryan. If you guys remember, Holy Cross had an All-American type linebacker, Dobbs, in the middle. He's been out most of the year, so I'm not sure how, when he went out. But Anderson's filling in his shoes and had a great year, obviously, because of it. So, yeah, thank you for bringing up Dobbs. I forgot that to bring that up. So, appreciate that. But I don't know. I honestly, they're giving up 200 and some yards passing per game. And like I said, New Hampshire had some good luck or good results being able to pass. And I think could have been more given without the weather. But they're giving up 214 yards per game through the air. So that could be something. I mean, our tight ends, we're lamenting that they didn't get much action this week. This could be a huge game for Tucker.
Redemption game?
Yeah, I mean, really, like, if they're going to be blitzing these linebackers and stuff from all over the place, their secondary did look a little bit smaller. Haven't actually, checked it out for sure, but that's something to keep an eye on too. The Yankees could have huge games.
How impressed I am with Coach Lujan this year. I mean, play calling has not been a discussion the entire year, and I'll keep bringing this up, hopefully through to Frisco. We don't talk about it because it just looks good, and we find out what works, and the plays are pretty good, and it just, man, he's done such a good job. So yeah, I assume he's gonna pick apart, and we're gonna just wait and see what they give us, especially when you've got a defense that changes things up like that. You just have to see what, this might be something where our script on the first drive doesn't look very good, and we go, oh no, my God, we went 3 and out, or, we only ran 4 plays. Well, that's because we needed to see what they're going to give us. And then at that point, we're going to adjust the game plan and exploit that. And that, that's just part of the game within the game.
Yep. I'm glad you brought that up, because I was thinking about this. and this is not a knock on Coach Eck, so I don't want it to be taken that way.
Why you got to rip Coach Eck?
I know, right? But how many times did we hear from Stig in post-game press conferences in years past when our offense would struggle, and he would say something like, "Oh, the defense came out and did something we totally didn't expect, and we didn't have any plays we could run against it." Our play calling sheet only had 15 plays that we thought would be successful, he said something like that in the past.
No, that's a good point. I do remember him saying that.
And this year he's talked about adjustments, but the adjustments have been made. It's not that they weren't ever prepared, for what the defense was going to throw at them. So huge credit to Lujan for being flexible with his game plan and flexible with what's actually happening on the field. So yeah.
And you got that. And then again, you look at how good of a third quarter team we are. Yeah. That is coaching. I will say that over and over and over. If you win the third quarter, it is your coaches.
Yep.
So good job, guys.
One thing that we got to talk about the third facet of the game here, special teams. So just by a guess, Dallas, how many blocked punts do you think Holy Cross has had this year?
Oh, man. Well, I assume it's more than a couple because you brought it up.
They have blocked 8 punts this year.
Oh, no.
Yeah, and they had one against New Hampshire, too.
Oh, I hate this.
And so that makes me nervous as heck because we've had a lot of punts blocked this year.
No, I don't like this at all.
So that is something to watch. But they have also had 4 of their own punts blocked, and New Hampshire did block one of their punts, too.
So that's fine, but that's the sort of thing where, if that happens, we got to do something to add extra protection early in the game.
Yeah.
I'm assuming, again, if we are the better team, and that is not a slight against Holy Cross. So if that's something where if that happens early in the first quarter, and suddenly we're looking at they're up 10-7 type of game in the second or something funky like that, you really got to protect against that early on. So I don't know, what sort of, I don't know, with work protection, what we got to do. I'd be curious to see how they did that.
I love Garrett Meyer's confidence here. Then let's not punt. Repeat this week. Yes. Your Randy Jacobs echoes that. The best solution to that is not to have to punt.
All right.
You guys.
It's so simple. Just stop punting. Don't punt.
Why didn't we think of that?
Well, that's why we're not coaches. We're sitting at home right now.
Oh, gosh. All right. Let's do some predictions, and then let's talk about some of these other games, too. So,
yeah, let's do it.
All right. So I'm predicting Tucker Kraft, Offensive Player of the Week, is going to be my prediction here. I'm writing these down, too. I don't know what happened to my shopping bag from last week. So I'm taking Tucker. Who are you taking?
Offense. Let's go with Mark.
Ooh, okay.
It's such an easy pick, but
okay. Defensively, I'm taking Kobe Herter. Ooh. He's going to come up with some picks this week, maybe multiple. So
Freeman.
Okay. Herter, Freeman. All right. Awesome. And you got to score.
By the way, is there anyone easier to cheer for than Freeman? I don't think so.
No, he's awesome.
God dang it. He was in the post-game interview, and what a good dude.
I haven't watched the players one yet. I'm going to do that.
Just humble. Oh, this was the actual, on the field one. This was the press conference.
Oh, with Tyler? Yep.
Yeah, just so humble, and the way that he presents himself, and I like that dude. Hope I get to him someday.
Awesome. Well, that's, when he got the unsportsmanlike penalty against Missouri State for flexing and stuff. And, Coach Stig said that's so uncharacteristic because he's like the quietest, humblest, hardworking guy. So we were all like, what the hell are you doing,
Missouri
man?
State sucks, and they're easy to flex on. I
right?
do too.
Missouri State. All right. Poor guys. All right. So score. Do you have a score?
I'm going to go, all right, I pulled it up. I think they're averaging, they're pushing 40 points a game. I mean, they're not touching anything near that. So I bet they can put up 17, and I think we can go 32. Jackrabbits 32-17.
Okay, 32-17. Yep. All right. So in the, hold on a second. What's happening here? My computer's freaking out, Dallas.
Oh. You're not froze. You're
the
good.
Spring season was 31-3. And I think Holy Cross's offense is better. Like I mentioned, Luke is a much better passer.
They're trying to. They're going to score some points, in my opinion.
Yep. So we have a bunch of predictions coming in here. All right.
I like it.
38-13, Garrett Meyer. 48-10, Chris Howard. Scott Rust, 41-24. Darren Amick, 45-13. Tim Habeck, 41-14. All right. I have it at 41-17. So similar, but 41-17. I think we're going to put up some points.
All right.
So, yeah, that's my prediction there. All right. So, yeah, thanks for all the scores, everyone. Appreciate it. Let's talk about some of these other games. Do you have them, Dallas, or no?
Not.
Okay.
You want me to pull something up?
I'll get them up really quick. You talk for a little bit. What's your favorite thing at Culver's? We forgot to talk about Culver's for predictions.
I like Culver's so much. Okay, God, it's been a little bit since I've been there. I mean, I'm pretty plain on the frozen custard. Like I'm a vanilla with some caramel guy. My kids have very, very specific requests anytime we go, right? It's some sort of chocolate with some sort of other chocolate on the chocolate, and it has to be done right, or by God, I'm going to hear about it.
Yeah.
And it's cool because Culver's is right down the street too, and this isn't obviously Brookings or Watertown, which is our sponsors, but the one that where I'm at is right down the street, and that's always kind of the treat for any of the kids for, if they do something good or want something or whatever, right? It's going to Culver's and getting that. So dig that, and then the mix of just it's the best fast food hamburger available, and if you disagree, you're an idiot.
Oh shoot. Oh, what did we do? Why are we getting this?
I don't know. Oh my goodness.
So on the back end, no one can see this, but we're getting spammed by adult site bots again. So
we think so, or someone wants us to see their private photos.
Yeah. Hey, I haven't done the curd burger yet. Garrett Meyer just reminded me about. He celebrated last night with a Butterburger curds and O-rings.
Oh, perfect. Man, those onion rings are so good. Hey. You know what? The other thing too, I'm going to keep bringing it up here, and we need to get Culver's corporate to sponsor us. Is if they ever do a mixed side with cheese curds, onion rings, and fries, no one will ever go to McDonald's or Hardee's or Wendy's again.
No doubt.
Wouldn't that be good?
That's a terrific idea.
Oh my God! Because I love all those things, but I want like 3 bites of each.
Yeah.
So they should just mix them all.
Huh.
All right, get on it. Let's go.
It's Ron Lowney that's spamming you. Hey, Ron hasn't been here tonight. Is Ron okay? Can someone do a wellness check with our Montana State friend? So, all right. So let's talk about the other games happening.
Let's do it. Playoffs is so fun. This is the best thing, and I know this isn't an FBS podcast, but I can't wait for the 12-team playoffs because 24 is so fun.
Yeah.
This is great.
Yeah. So opening game Friday night, Samford at NDSU, 6:00. 2 contrasting styles. Samford wants to throw the ball, and their starting quarterback was actually hurt in the regular season, the playoff game. Regular season finale. And NDSU wants to run the ball, obviously. We have seen this show before. Teams that are not balanced on offense do not do well in the Fargo Dome. I'm predicting a slaughter of epic proportions, NDSU over Samford. What are you predicting, Dallas?
Same. I don't think this one will go well.
No.
I've had people try to convince me, and Samford's not a bad team by any means, but they're not at that level. Yeah. And to be able to compete with the Fargo Humps, you got to be able to shut down the run and compete up front, and they can't do it. And it's so weird that you've got one team that can do isn't great at one particular thing. Samford, they're a very good team, very talented, and then you've got the other team that can only do one thing.
Yeah,
and they have no, they have nothing else they're great at, but they're so damn good that if you can't beat them at their game, I don't care what you can do.
Yeah,
and you're gonna get to the end. There's another one. Oh my God, I was gonna bring this up. Almost forgot. There was a Montana podcast, I think, that on Twitter today that I saw that made some comment of like, oh, we need to look at our weight room because NDSU is running over this. And I want to go, oh my God, you idiot. Have you watched football for the last 12 years?
Yeah,
come on, man. That's all these clowns have done because, yes, they're better. Yep. I mean, and again, I hate them, but they've got an O-line that could start for basically any Big Ten team.
Yeah.
And deal with it. So anyway, back to this game coming up. Yeah, it'll be end of the first quarter, it'll be one score, and at halftime it might be two scores, and at the end it's going to be a blowout and hideous.
Yep. Ron is here and alive, everyone.
Oh, hello.
And he says one more week and we get to settle it on the field. So Ron's been talking trash all season long for Montana State, and then we'll get to welcome him here just to return the favor from last year. So, all right. Bison will roll NDSU by a lot. So, yeah, everyone's kind of predicting that. The second game then is William and Mary at Montana State. And so that is 8:15 Mountain Time out there, which is a late game. I mean, that's 10:15 East Coast, which William and Mary is maybe used to. So any thoughts on that initially?
I mean, this will be a fun one. I wished I watched two William and Mary games, I think. And, very, very solid offense. Defensively, I don't have a clue what they can do. I'm going to probably assume that they're not going to shut down that run game of Montana State. I mean, they're going to score some points.
Mm-hmm.
Right, but I think that they're going to get ground down and just not be able to handle that.
Yeah, I think this could be a fun one. I'm predicting Montana State's going to win. Like, I think it's going to be the top four go through fairly easily.
Yep.
But it's Bob and Mary.
Bob and Mary, thanks,
Chad, did you hear that last week on B Team Dallas?
No, I didn't. What?
Chad kept calling them Bob and Mary.
I was just going to joke that two people can't be a form of football team, but whatever.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. I think it's going to be, I don't know, probably something in that like 41-35 range, somewhere in there. Montana State's coming out on top, probably by a touchdown or more. So
I was going to say it still feels like 2 to 3 scores. It's any of those things. There's going to be some. It's called false hope. I'm not trying to be a jerk, but it'll probably be halfway close at halftime. Yep. And by the end, when you've got a running team that just grinds them down and takes over, middle of the third quarter, it'll be a 3-score game.
Yep. That's so Seth Meyers a little bit there, on your line of thinking. Garrett Myers a little more with me, closer game. So We'll see. Like, this is going to be interesting.
Oh, that's close.
Yeah.
Fun. I love playoffs. They're a great time.
Yep. All right, and the final game wrapping up, and you've had some questions about this one because it's on ESPN Plus.
Yes.
Incarnate Word at Sacramento State at 9:30 p.m.
ESPN Plus. I'm sure it's eyeballs, and they look at who streams the other games, but this is by far the most interesting one to me. Like, I can't wait to watch this.
Yep.
Because you've got the man with 2 first names, Lindsey Scott, who's just owned everyone all year. Going out to the team that thinks they're the best team in the country, but has struggled sometimes. I can't wait to watch this. This will be so fun. Yeah,
it's going to be an interesting one. And I would love to see Incarnate Word win, but again, I don't want a one-dimensional team to go into Fargo and get annihilated then in the semifinals. NDSU secondary that's the strength of their defense.
Ooh, that's a good point.
So I just want to see NDSU go on the road, play Sac State, and just make them travel, get them a little bit uncomfortable, get them out of that damn dome, and just see what happens. I mean, I think Sac State's defense, from what I've watched, would do a good job of at least slowing down and making NDSU have to attempt to pass. I mean, Cam Miller had 50 some yards again this week?
Oh, that many?
Yeah, right. It's just teams just are not able to stop their run. So
they had 879 yards of rushing, whatever it was.
Yeah, Yeah.
You didn't have to.
Yeah, I know, but you can't. You got to make them pass somehow. Like put 8 guys in the box, whatever.
We're the only team that has so far.
Yeah, yeah. So I don't know. I'm taking Sac State in that one. Like I said, it's gonna be chalk. So
I would. I don't think that one. I'm really torn. I'm close to taking Incarnate Word because early in the season I was worried they were gonna just light everybody up.
Yeah.
And
after what they did to Southern Illinois, right?
Yeah.
Early on? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, defensively, they've got their issues, but I mean, if you're going to take a 70-60 shootout, they're going to win every time. So
yeah. Yep. I don't know. I want Sac to win, so NDSU has to travel. Like that's get them out of that damn dome.
All right.
So yeah, Sac State's going to get rolled by NDSU. Maybe. I don't know.
I don't think they get rolled. I think that's a one score game. I wouldn't be. I think No, I don't know who wins that game. We'll see when it happens.
Yeah, I mean, I think personally, Sac State's defense is good enough to make them have to pass. So we'll see. That's still I mean, both teams could lose this week. I don't see it happening, but both could.
No,
hypothetically. So, or not hypothetically, whatever. All right. As always, like and share, subscribe, comment. I just appreciate everyone, that bought flags and is already flying them and sending pictures. That's awesome.
Yep, that's awesome. Tell a friend. Sorry, and the other thing that you missed would be on Apple or Spotify or whatever. Make sure you rate the podcast. Give us some feedback.
Yep. And then we'll see you on Saturday at tailgating. If you have not gotten your flag yet, stop by the mega tent and pick it up from Brendan. So, yeah. All right. Go big, go blue,
go Jacks.